Still a bit breezy out here. This is Thursday morning, unloading soybeans that I cut last night. But do you see this? I got a little nervous last night when I turned the camera off after parking the truck in the barn and was showing you the full moon. And that wind was really blowing, and I looked at this auger up in the air here and I checked the weather forecast. Well, the weather forecast said the winds were going to turn from the northwest overnight with gusts up to 40 miles an hour. So I was concerned about this auger being up in the air with northwest winds gusts up to 40 miles an hour, because northwest winds are from this direction right here. So it would be blowing right against that auger. So I didn't want to take a chance. Pulled the tractor out of the barn, put the front end loader on it, and just put that front end loader right down here on the axle of this auger. That way it could not flip over if that wind got up that high. Luckily, the winds did not get that high. They did turn to the northwest, and I think we had a gust of about 30 miles an hour overnight, maybe 35. A little bit cooler this morning than yesterday. The winds are now out of the northwest instead of the southwest today. The neighbor across the way there, he's already on his combine cutting soybeans. There was no dew overnight. Winds blew all night long. So as soon as I get these unloaded, I can hit the field, start cutting. I did have to go to the hardware store first and do an order this morning. So getting down here a little bit later than I really wanted to, but it's just part of my routine and part of my schedule. Check, check, 1, 2, check. All right, let's cut some soybeans. A beautiful, brisk November morning. Is my ship still out in the water? I got word from my friend over at the school that the ship did not come back into dock. I can't see it, but it could be back behind those trees. If it stayed out all night, it was a rough night for it, I believe. I was going to have my great nephew with me this morning. He was the little 2-year-old that sat in the seat with me when I was shelling corn. I talked to his father last night, and his father was coming down to do some work for me this morning. And And I said, hey, if you want to bring your son down, he can ride on the combine with me for a while. He said, yeah, I'll do that. So when his father showed up this morning, he didn't have him. I said, what's going on? He said, well, the great uncle doesn't rate as well as the grandfather does. So his grandfather is my brother. He said he wanted to go with his grandfather instead of sitting with you on a combine. What the hell? I thought I was the most important one here, but I guess my brother outranks me. That's nothing new. He was always the favorite anyway. Looks like someone is getting ready to put up a duck blind. Looks like geese out there in the water, maybe. Just getting way too many splits in these things. I'm slowing the cylinder speed down some now. Maybe that will help. If all of my soybeans would have been like these right here, I would have been okay. I've just hit a patch right here of nice soybeans. And I say that as I run into a area here that they're not quite as good, but this field here is doing 35 plus bushels. It might hit 40. Another field is complete. 2 more fields to go. Oh, I better dump before I start in this field. But I'm gonna have to walk down and get the truck. I guess it's a good chance to stretch my legs. I've got to walk down there to get the truck. I will be back. It's a beautiful day out here for a walk. Hey, I actually brought lunch with me today. I don't normally eat lunch, just a snack. Yesterday, my brother brought some stuffed ham to me. So this is the first stuffed ham of the season. Oh man, and I'm making a mess all over my combine. I think I showed this on my channel oh, when was it? In the spring when my daughter went to get parts? I better pay attention to the truck here. Don't want to overfill it and put beans on the ground. So yes, stuffed ham. That is a Southern Maryland specialty. It's a corned ham that is stuffed with, in this case, it's kale and red pepper, some other seasonings in there. I prefer it with a mix of cabbage and kale, but this is good too. This batch is a little bit spicy, but I've got water here. Whenever I eat a stuffed ham sandwich, it brings back bad memories of my days at the grocery store when we owned that. Because at this time of the year, from November through December, we cooked a lot of darn hams and stuffed them. Probably, oh man, 500, I would say, in those 2 months. My father was a big help in that. He would come in the morning when we opened, and he would chop up all the cabbage and onions for us and stuff the hams, and then I would throw them in the oven to cook them. And I could cook, whoa, how many could I cook at a time? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8? I think it was 8. Our oven held 8 of them at a time. We had a double oven, and it took about 3 hours to cook these hams. So if I got a good start and had the first hams in the oven by 8 o'clock, I could cook 24 hams in a day. I could get 3 batches of hams cooked in a day. So my father cut up all the cabbage and onions to get these hams stuffed, and then I would cook them. And then while they were cooking, after he cut up all the cabbage, then he would slice the hams from the day before. So the ones that we cooked the day before, we put in the refrigerator overnight. You had to cool them down in a certain time period, according to the health department rules. So then the next day after the cooking, he would slice them all up. Now that was a job too, you know, just imagine constantly doing this all day long, slicing those hams. Well, he could do it. He was usually out of there by 12 or 1 o'clock in the afternoon. And then my wife would be the one to package these hams up after they were sliced and put them into packages to sell, and you'd have to weigh them and mark them, and then we would make sandwiches and sell those out of our deli. It was a whole production, and they have a smell to them all their own. So when people would walk into the grocery store, they would know when we were cooking hams, because that smell permeated the store. Some people thought it was a good smell, and other people thought it smelled like old dirty socks. And as you can see across the end here, we've got some coastal flooding situations, some drowned out situations. These are the spots that hurt us. When you take 2 acres out of a 10-acre field, that cuts your yield back tremendously. And we would ship these hams all over the country, because people who had lived here at one point in time and then moved away, they kind of acquired the taste for stuffed ham. Well, when you move to a different part of the country, you can't get these stuffed hams. and you cannot make them yourselves because it is a special type of ham that we use for it that you just can't buy anywhere in the country. And so they would call the store and order 5 pounds or maybe a half of a ham or maybe a whole ham, and then trying to get that thing packaged up, and we would have to ship it UPS overnight because it was a refrigerated product. So we would usually freeze it 24 hours before shipping it, and then do a overnight shipment either through usually we did it through the post office, because the post office was in the same building as our grocery store. So that was easier to ship through them, and then we would do a next day delivery or a 2-day delivery. And so by the time it was delivered to its destination, it was thawed out but still cold. And trying to keep track of all of those orders and get those shipments out, it was wow. It was a process. It's days that I do not miss. And of course, we were still running a grocery store on top of all of that. The daily ins and outs of a grocery store with your regular ordering and stocking and customers coming in and helping them out, and full service meat department, deli, liquor sales, all of that good stuff. There would be some nights I would get to the store, we opened at 7 o'clock, so I was there by 7 to open. We closed at 7 o'clock in the evening, so store hours, 12 hours a day. Some nights I didn't leave that store until 9 or 10 o'clock in the evening. That's a long damn day in a store, dealing with people and crap. Employees, that was our biggest problem, dealing with employees. But that, anybody will tell you that owns any type of business, employees are your biggest headache. But enough of that, on to happier things now. I'm in my happy place now. Most people don't realize it, but a stuffed ham, in my opinion, is best when it comes right out of the oven, when it's still hot. That was good when it came right out of the oven. Most people are only used to eating it cold because they're buying it from somewhere and it's served cold. And there are, other than the stuffing part of it and the different ways to do the stuffing, there are a couple of ways to cook it as well. So at the grocery store, we put them in the oven and bake them, but you can also boil them, and that's a process. Well, you've got to have a pot big enough to put these hams in, but then you have to have cheesecloth to wrap this ham in, because you got to hold all of that stuffing into the ham, and then you wrap this cheesecloth around it to hold it all in and drop it in that pot of water and then boil it. Whereas if you put it in the oven, you don't need to wrap it. You just put it in the pan with all the stuffing in it, put some tin foil over it, and bake it in the oven. Either way, it's going to take you 2 or 3 hours to cook these things, because these hams are 20-pound, 25-pound hams. So in order to get that inside cooked to the proper temperature, it takes a while. I wish I had thought about videotaping that whole process when we were doing it, just for posterity's sake, because it's a dying art. Not as many people do this now, because as the younger generation comes on, they don't want to go through all of this work to stuff these hams. And as the mom and pop stores get bought up by corporations and the chain grocery stores, then the chain grocery stores are not going to spend time stuffing these hams. So luckily in this county, we've still got a couple of places that will stuff hams, a couple of the mom and pop local grocery stores, and that's where this came from. Some restaurants will stuff hams and put it on their menus during this season, this time of the year. of the things that we did when we bought the grocery store is we perfected this process. Most people just kind of dump the spices and seasonings in and don't measure anything out. So my wife and I got talking about this, and we said, what makes places like McDonald's and Burger King and Olive Garden and all of those chain restaurants, what makes them popular with people? Well, you know what you're getting. It's a consistent product each time you go. Whereas this ham, depending on who was chopping the cabbage and the kale and the onions and throwing the spices in, it could have a little different taste each time. And I said, no, we're going to get a consistent taste with this thing so that each batch is the same. And so we started weighing everything and measuring everything. And my father got real good at it with weighing the cabbage out. So each batch, I don't know, 20 pounds, 30 pounds, I don't even know now. I've still got the recipe at home. He would weigh out the cabbage, the kale, the onions. We measured out the salt and the black pepper and I don't think we put salt on it because the ham was already salty. So I think it was black pepper and red pepper. We measured all of that out. When I cooked the hams, I got temperature probes and put in the hams with alarms on them. So when that internal temperature got to, I don't know, was it 160? I think it was 160. The alarm went off and we would pull that ham out, and because of the different sizes of hams, that some hams would cook in 2.5 hours, other hams it would take 3.5 hours, where previously they would just throw them in the oven for 3 hours regardless and have it. So you got inconsistency, so each batch would be a little bit different under most people, but we perfected that. So every batch we made was going to taste the same. So I was very proud of that we got that consistency. And that's enough of that on the history of stuffed ham. Bored you right to death, I'm sure. Going back to yesterday's video, I was talking about Daddy Trump putting money into our bank accounts, paying the farmers with the tariff money. Well, I checked my bank account last night, and sadly, I did not get anything from Daddy Trump. Nothing in my account. So I guess that is because I did not file any acreage reports with the FSA office in July. So I will see once the government opens back up and the FSA office opens back up. We'll go in and see if I can file some late acreage reports and get my money from Daddy Trump. Christmas is coming, you know, and I'm sure Farmer's Daughter has already got a wish list made. She just hasn't handed it to me yet. The older she gets, the shorter the wish list is, but the more expensive the items are. Although she could say the same thing about my wish list that I give to her as well. She no longer gets the list from me that just says socks and M&Ms. Truck is almost full. Maybe you can see it, maybe not. Maybe another 75 bushels it will be full. The Birdman is on his way to dump that truck for me. If things continue to click along and tick along like they're doing right now, I believe I can finish cutting soybeans today. I've got this field here, which is about 10 acres, and then I've got to move back to the other farm I was on, and it's about 7 acres in that field. So if the Birdman is going to be here, he'll be able to help me move. So That's a real possibility to finish cutting soybeans today. That would be wonderful. No complaints from me. I turn the camera on and the phone starts blowing up. What the hell? How odd. I was just talking about stuffed ham, and I've got a friend asking me if I miss the days at the store of doing stuffed hams, and I told him hell no. So yeah, that's odd that out of the blue he just says, hey, stuffed ham. I'm like, I just finished 15 minutes ago with this whole thing about stuffed ham. How the hell did you know? I'm looking around in the combine to see if there's a microphone and a camera other than this one here. It's like Big Brother is watching me. That's scary, isn't it? I've got most of the bad spots cut out now along the ends of the field, so it should be pretty good beans on over. I may have one more spot where the water like to lay or drain area down through the field, but the rest of the field kind of looks like this. Telephone poles in the middle of the field like that, that's what will take out an unloading auger real quick. Back in the day on the older combines, the ones we used to run, they did not have a hydraulic cylinder to bring them out. You had to manually go out and pull them out and lock them in place. And so you only did that once when you got in the field. You pulled it out and it stayed out while you did the field. So you just had to be aware that this thing is always sticking out. And so that's how I got used to, you know, doing the field, the end rows a certain way going around the field, because you wanted that auger to be on the inside so you didn't hit poles. Because when I was younger, in my younger days, oh, what was I running at the time? I think it was a 4420. So if my 4420 was a little bit different. It did have a hydraulic cylinder to bring the auger out, but you still had to get out and lock it in place in order to hold it there. And I was had the auger out, cutting soybeans and going down the edge of the field, and was not paying attention, and we had telephone poles along the edge of the field, and my auger was sticking on the outside, and wham bam, thank you ma'am, hit that auger with that telephone pole. Had a nice round bend in it. Auger would not turn. Yep, we were shut down for the day after that. Gosh, what did we do? Did I have to get a new tube, or did we try to pull the dent out of that one? I don't know, but that's where I learned my lesson. Man, I was sick when that happened. All right, the Birdman just pulled in. I don't quite have enough on there yet to fill the truck. Give me about another 10 minutes and I should have enough to fill him and let him go dump. This field is complete. We've got the header card in place. I've got the blower in the truck. I'm going to blow the header off. Let me dump what I've got in the combine onto the truck, and we can move on to the next field. It is 20 minutes to 3, so I have got time to get moved and get that next field done. And wow. This field here did 40 bushels to the acre, and that was with what, about an acre and a half, 2 acres down on the end where I had nothing. So my double crop beans are ending up being better than my full season soybeans. Yes, yep. Yeah, just take it down next to the trees there. You know, I should have put my goggles and dust mask on for that little bit of blowing that I did do. I had the combine faced into the wind, and I was just blowing the front part off, but that dust still blew around and some of it got in my eyes. I guess if that's the worst thing that happens today, I will be okay. Okay, I got things worked out. My cousin called me back, so he's gonna come pick up the Birdman, take him back to get the grain truck, so that way we don't have to keep moving trucks around. And this last field I've got, it was the very last field that we planted. It's my wettest field that I work. We have to wait until June or July a lot of times to plant it, just because of the type of soil that it is, and it doesn't drain well. And so planted it. It was a little wet when we planted it, stayed wet for a while, then so we didn't get a good stand, and then when it dried off there wasn't much there. So there's going to be a lot of places that I'm just going to skip over, but for crop insurance purposes I still have to cut it. You got the pin hooked underneath? Okay. The pin, yes. Yeah. Yep. If you want to take it and dump it, you can do that and just bring it over here. I don't care.
You all good?
Yep. All right. All right, we're going to pick and choose here what we're going to cut. You can see the grass in places here where we just didn't get the stand, so that didn't keep the grass down. I swear I did spray this. One more small pass here and soybean harvest 2025 will be wrapped up. And I did not have a single issue with the soybean harvest with this combine. No bearings went bad, no belts, no breakdowns. Somewhat surprising. There's always something that goes bad. And there it is. And it's 2 minutes before 4 o'clock. That means we will have time to get everything home before it gets dark. Get everything dumped in the bin, get the auger down, get the bin closed up. I think tomorrow's job will be cleaning the combine, washing it. I think I've already got a carpentry job lined up for next week. Oh, beautiful. I don't think I have mentioned anything about soybean prices over the last week and a half. So since Trump's visit to China, soybean prices have gone up $1 a bushel. So that's getting back to where we need to be with pricing. Unfortunately, we just didn't get the yields this year for that. But yeah, $1 a bushel. Corn has maintained, it's hung around the same price. It's the same price as it was a month ago when I was shelling corn and selling corn. Shelling and selling, yes, that's what I was doing. Trump needs to maybe take another visit to China, and if each visit to China gets us $1 a bushel, man, go over there every week until we get to about $15 a bushel. That would be wonderful. Yeah, Daddy Trump is starting to come through for us a little bit here. As I said, we just needed to give him time, and he would get it figured out. So I think he's starting to work on it. Let's hope so anyway. I hope he hasn't forgotten about the farmers. I really should not be holding this camera while I'm going out of this skinny ass road here. Now I'm past the worst of it, but I got trees on this side, and on the left side here I've got a ditch that it doesn't look bad, but that ditch is wet, stays wet year round. Don't you dare get in it because you're not coming out of it. Looks like I got here just in time. He is cleaning the truck out. I guess I can move my tractor now since we're taking this auger down. Looks like we could have got about another 250 bushels in the bin here. I'm up here on top now, closing the tops. I've got it sitting here waiting for me tomorrow so I can start cleaning everything up and get it put away. And we have missed the sunset. Well, the sun hasn't gone down, it's just gone behind the trees there. All right, wrapping this one up and saying, see ya! See ya!